WisdomTrees spot Bitcoin ETF was rejected by the SEC this week. It happened on the same day that Grayscale filed a legal brief against the U.S. regulator, calling the rejection of their own spot Bitcoin ETF, quote, arbitrary, capricious, and discriminatory. Folks, note that Grayscale is a sister company of CoinDesk under the DCG umbrella. But joining us now is Will Peck. He's the head of digital assets at asset manager WisdomTree to discuss further. Welcome, Will, to the show. So, I just want to mention the first Bitcoin ETF was filed in 2013 by, Gemini Crypto Exchange and the co-founders, Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss. And here we are in 2022, almost 10 years later, and this SEC still hasn't budged. So I guess my first question would be, what was the reason given by the SEC for rejecting this latest spot Bitcoin ETF application? And when filing the application in the first place, did you feel, was there something different that you felt that would have stood a shot at addressing the SEC's previous concerns, which have always been market manipulation in Bitcoin?
Hey, Christine. Hey, Lawrence. Good to be with you guys today. Happy Friday. Very optimistic show you guys had this morning. But with regard to the rejection of our application at this point, the reasons given were pretty consistent with where they'd been before. Frankly, we're not really surprised in terms of the SEC's reasons, given where they've been in the past and kind of their overall dialogue and posture with regarding to lots of other applicants. We thought we had some unique protections in there, kind of trying to bring some of the 1940 Act to this 33 Act spot product. But that wasn't, currently at this time enough to kind of get it over the line. I think it would have surprised a lot of people if it did, frankly. So, we have lots of good dialogue with the SEC. Unlike a lot of the other firms out there focused on this, we've got lots of other initiatives, both digital assets and otherwise. So we're constantly engaging productively with the regulators. And I think it'll just be, a matter of time, and maybe some stuff needs to happen in DC as we address this. And obviously, Grayscale is, as you mentioned, filing their lawsuit. They filed a legal brief, so that's something that I think people are monitoring too. But we actually just got another kind of digital-related fund called the WisdomTree Short-Term Treasury Digital Fund, which is actually a 40 Act registered fund, the shares of which can be tokenized as a record, which is actually pretty interesting and novel and something we're very excited about, approved with the SEC. So we're engaging with them on lots of fronts, and we're going to keep working with them on the Bitcoin ETF as well.
Right. That was the WisdomTree's first blockchain-enabled fund. What is that exactly? How does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's a 40 Act registered mutual fund, so that's the highest standards in terms of U.S. regulation for funds, and essentially the shares of which can be tokenized and held in a blockchain-based wallet. So for us, this is part of the kind of developing market infrastructure growing around, distributed ledger technology and blockchain. I think a lot of people, plenty of people who've been on the show have pointed out that it's really crypto's a remarkable technology in terms of peer-to-peer atomic settlement on a 24/7, 365 basis. So a lot of people clearly have been focused on that. A lot of the biggest firms on Wall Street have been doing more and more in terms of infrastructure here. So WTSY for us is a first step on this. It's been something we've been working on with the SEC and our partners, Securities, State Street, and others for 2 years now. And it's a great milestone to get an approval. It'll be first available through our own wallet application, WisdomTree Prime, which will allow people to hold digital assets, including, crypto, but also these types of digital funds, all in the same infrastructure and interface, and kind of put investments at a closer connection to payments and savings. So it's something that, we're going to be going into a broader beta later this fall, and customers will be able to sign up then.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of crypto firms are just trying to find, and asset managers are just trying to find ways to let institutions get exposure to cryptocurrencies, given that the SEC has been so, hesitant to allow spot Bitcoin ETF. And I just want to bring around, you mentioned Grayscale. So that in their lawsuit, they're calling the SEC's rejection of their spot Bitcoin ETF application arbitrary, capricious, and discriminatory because they allow Bitcoin futures, and they seem to have something against the Bitcoin as an industry, they suggested. Do you agree?
I don't want to speculate exactly kind of beyond what the SEC has said publicly. I think what is pretty clear is that the futures market is, a CME, or the CME futures, I should say, is overseen by the CFTC, and spot Bitcoin does not kind of presently have a quote like regulator that has direct oversight. Although spot exchanges are subject to lots of other regulations and oversight around AML and things like that. Even if like crypto per se is not necessarily overseen. So I think there's some talk in DC about is CFTC going to take over some of this, and there seems to be between the SEC and some other agencies maybe some points that aren't like fully worked out yet. So I won't kind of comment if I view it as capricious or not, but I think it's just something that's going to be worth monitoring.
There's no intention of WisdomTree to join in a legal action at all?
Absolutely
not at this point.
So why do you guys do this? It seems like the SEC's makeup hasn't changed all that much, and I still don't quite get what the secret ingredient in this most recent filing was that made everyone think, and even you admitted it was that it was most likely not going to pass. So why are you guys trying to make lawyers rich? I mean, why not just wait for the SEC's makeup to change?
It's my colleagues. I love working with them. No, look, I think it's just going to be, you don't know what's going to happen at any point in time,
it's like
right?
a lottery ticket, though.
I don't know that it's a lottery ticket. I think you want to be engaging productively with regulators. So like, for example, some of the protections that we put in place in ours, we had a bank custodian. We named US Bank as the custodian in our filing, and they actually got an OCC approval to custody Bitcoin prior to the OCC I won't say they shut it down, but they've been a little bit slower in terms of granting new national charters in terms of custodying Bitcoin. So that's one example. There are other kind of disclosure protections and things like that that we've named in the filing that are on the first page that we thought were constructive. Now, clearly not a silver bullet. And I don't know that there's a silver bullet. So we put them into. Yep, go ahead.
It seems that their biggest gripe here has nothing to do with the issues of custodianship and what have you. It seems that I mean, at least from what I've heard, the big issues seem still to be uncertainty about the actual markets in which crypto trades.
Yeah, it's a potential for market manipulation.
Exactly.
Right? And that's right. And I won't say that there's like a silver bullet to address that. Certainly WisdomTree or any individual firm is not going to be able to, I think, perfectly solve all of these concerns over time. I think the best we can do is just demonstrate how ETFs and ETPs work. For example, we have products in the European market, ETPs that track Bitcoin, and they work like we say they're going to work, right? They track closely to the underlying spot market. The market prices don't differentiate generally, trade in line. So that's exactly what you want to be seeing with these types of products, unlike some of the OTC traded trusts, right? Which, I don't know what GPT's discount is to NAV today, but like it's pretty bad, I think. Yeah. And so that's where you start to see some issues. And so, we're just trying to demonstrate that, kind of show the protections that we have in place. But, it's clear at this point in time that
it seems that it seems that there are all these protections that and every application that comes out, there are all these extra doodads that are added to this. It's going to be even more protected than and yet they keep saying, yeah, that's great and that's wonderful, that's fantastic, but you're dealing with a price that is potentially manipulated by foreign governments, let's say, and that where the spot price is never really truly the true market price and can be moved around because there's such thin markets. And I don't know how you guys can go out and address that just yet. I mean, maybe the real issue isn't what extra things you add to the ETF so much it is to try and force the exchanges to clean up their acts.
Exchanges to clean up their act. I don't know if even that's necessarily what is. I mean, like I said at the front, some of this will be dependent on how things evolve in DC. We're one member of kind of a broader ecosystem here, and then you definitely want to stay engaged and part of this. So like I said, don't view it as a silver bullet by any means. It's us kind of continuing to be engaged on it, and we will be engaged on it in the future, as I'm sure will plenty of other firms. So if I had a magical answer in terms of this, I'd be a very rich man. I don't at this point in time. So I think it's going to be continuing to engage on it and working productively with the ecosystem and the regulators. That's kind of the best I can say.
Do you think the Bitcoin futures markets are any safer than what a spot Bitcoin ETF market would be like?
Well, I mean, safer is kind of the Bitcoin futures market is kind of derived, right? It's a cash settled futures. It's derived by, I think the CF benchmark rate is like 5 underlying exchanges. So there's definitely a connection there, and I understand that's what when Grayscale is kind of pointing out that difference or maybe not a difference between those two and why there's issues. But I think what is true is that the CME futures market is overseen by CFTC. They do have a surveillance sharing agreement in place with other exchanges and should be able to monitor any sort of kind of market manipulation stuff. And so that seems to be where it is today. I think you guys have probably spoken to a lot of people, and it seems like we're kind of Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill in some regard. But that's regulated financial services in some way, and you're working with regulators trying to get it done, and then it's gradually, and then you'll make progress and things will happen and move more quickly. So we're not losing faith over this. I know everyone's kind of really hoping that it'll happen tomorrow, and it seems like it's not going to happen tomorrow or next month, and it could take a bit of time. And we're in it for the long haul. We think it makes sense for a lot of our clients to be allocating, a small percentage of their portfolio to Bitcoin and doing it in a cost-effective, transparent, and secure way, which I think the products that exist today don't necessarily allow you to do that. So that's what we're focused on, and trying to do that in, ETF or not ETF in kind of other ways as allowed.
Well, congratulations to all the securities lawyers.
Yeah.
That's kind of a cynical way to say it, but no. I mean, like I said, this is our business,
and we'll keep it going.
Everyone
needs
seems
one.
that way on this Friday morning.